Christopher Kent. Welcome to Flea Market Mania. We're here at the Berks County Heritage Center in Reading, Pennsylvania. Folks from all around have come to enjoy the 20th annual Berks County Heritage Festival, and they brought their antiques and flea market finds for us to appraise. So come on, let's get started. I'd like to welcome you to the show, sir.
Thank you.
And your name is?
Al Karp.
Al. Nice to meet you, sir. What can you tell me about, let's start with this one right here.
Well, my parents picked that up in the mid-50s. They told me it was sandwich glass and gave it to us, my wife and I. They told me it was sandwich glass and what they call end of day.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Interesting.
would be the kind of glass what they'd have at the end of the day when after blown all the different things they were making, they had little bits of glass they had left over, throw them all into one mass and just make things out of it.
So we got this mishmash here. Yes, well, first of all, technically I suppose we could call this a sandwich glass in that we have bands of glass that have been bonded together. Really, if we want to be very specific about it, we're not going to call it sandwich glass. Sandwich glass is, in fact, glassware that has been made in Sandwich, Massachusetts, and or attributed to English glass as well. That name is attributed to a manufacturer. But we do have a bonded and or layered glass here as well. Okay. The concept that it's sort of the end of day concoction makes for a nice story is not technically true. This follows a pattern of a lot of Italian glass, which is a millefiori glass process or spattered glass, where you would have actual shards and pieces blown into a whole piece. If we look at this very closely, what you have is striations of color in clear glass. Right. So we do not have an actual bonding of layers. Right. It is bands of color that have been blown in, through, and to form one solid piece. And it is really a very nice one because the coloration is very strong and looks very good. Age-wise, I would put this as a probably 1920s, 1930s, as a decorative piece of art glass. It is conceivable that because of its decoration, I would say it is probably Italian as opposed to being manufactured in this country in the 20s and the 30s. Value-wise for this kind of piece, it's a very sweet one. The height, decoration, color, you're looking at about $225 for this one. Now, we got the samovar, and it's a nice chilly day here. We need to be cooking with this.
And somebody actually looks like it used it, don't you, by the grate inside?
Yeah. Well, actually, you'd keep your water hot with these. Your teapot would be sitting on top here. This is a fairly standard size and shape, and a lot of these were coming out of the Middle East, they were coming out of Russia, and they were actually in Bulgaria and Hungary, they were everywhere.
As far as I know, this one came over with my grandmother's family around 1910.
Yes, and I would say by the look of the marks on here, this was manufactured in Moscow, as opposed to St. Petersburg, but we do have an image, a profile here of Nicholas II on here with a date of 1908.
Checked the internet and found that.
Yeah. So we have Nicholas II, who was the last Tsar of Russia. We don't have his wife here because I don't think he was married then. Yes, he was married then. But anyway, the other good thing that you have on this particular samovar is you have all commemorative times, dates, and so forth right across here. And it's telling us basically everything we need to know as far as the manufacturing and where it was made. And it was made in Moscow in 1908. It's a good, solid citizen piece. Construction-wise, most of these were made out of brass. The higher end, of course, were made out of silver. Some had gold washers on them. And 9 times out of 10, the wonderful little teapot that sat on top of here, oops, it's gone. And that's the way it
never
goes.
knew it existed.
Yeah, and they would have been sold usually separately, the pots and so forth. But you got that very beautiful, strong brew of good Russian tea on the top here, and you'd open up your little valve here, and your hot water would come out to dilute it as per cup. Now, value for this particular one, it's good that we know everything about it as far as its background is concerned, and many of these samovars are very, very collectible. I would put a value on this particular one at between $550 and $850. I'm going to give you a range for that, but that's primarily what you're looking at, and it is still very much usable. So use it in good health.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure. We're talking to
Robert Polali of Youngstown, Ohio, B&R Architectural Salvage.
Well done, and you've got some absolutely beautiful, beautiful collection of stained glass. Tell me about your collection here.
Most of these pieces of stained glass come from residential houses. I do have some that are from churches. We go in and salvage a house before it's demolished, and we repair the glass using only old glass.
Aha! Okay, good. And we're looking here at this collection, what, turn of the century to?
Probably up into the 20s, anywhere from 1870s up into the 20s.
When did it, as far as you're concerned, stained glass lose its flavor as far as residential was concerned?
Probably right around the turn of the century, and probably from around 1900, 1920s, you went more into beveled pieces of glass like this here. Just beveled pieces of glass just seemed to be the thing all the way from
the color was going out the window.
Right.
Left us with the Victoriana.
Right.
Now tell us about this one, which is a really nice, colorful piece here.
This piece here is an Art Nouveau piece. It is foiled, leaded, and painted on glass. This came out of a restaurant, believe it or not.
Beautiful. And now, for those watching out there, what is this going to retail? What are you going to hit us for?
Anywhere from $150 to $175 on this particular panel.
Great price. So you're saying this is an Art Nouveau design, but are we saying that it's actually from?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
No.
Okay. Now, when we see stained glass like this with the blue cast in it, what is that meaning? Is this having a lead content to it, or is this been
There's a lead
tinted?
content in the glass. Actually, the sunlight turns this glass. It's the magnesium in the glass that turns it purple. It probably started its life out as clear white glass.
Aha. And then the use of this mottled glass. This was simply a stylistic.
Right. That's just textured glass here.
Beautiful.
Now that's ripple glass. This is called glue chip. This would be hammered, and this is granite. In the middle, you have a faceted jewel.
It really is beautiful. Well, what is this going to retail us?
This is going to retail at about $400.
Perfect. Perfect. Are people more and more using these in design? Is it coming back in style?
Yes. Yes. A lot of people are incorporating these into new homes.
Perfect. You've been great.
Okay.
Thank you very much
you.
for sharing them with us. And I'm talking to
Bill Highland.
Bill. Nice to meet you. What a beautiful collection of stained glass you have. Tell us about this piece right here.
Well, I think it's a very interesting piece, and as I've told people, I like things floral, leaves, turn of the century. Probably whoever made this window had to have a little knowledge of maybe what Tiffany was doing. 'Cause
Exactly.
when you look at,
that's the feel I got when I saw it.
when you get the great windows, I wouldn't call this a poor man's Tiffany, but it's certainly not in the league of a Tiffany window. But it's and backlit, and it's hard with the light I have to really show off all the colors. But when you get the different glass and just the workmanship on this window, I think it's about as good as I get.
When you have striation and color and so forth, this is actually in the glass. This has not been painted, has it?
You know, that's what Tiffany gets credit for inventing. Although I believe they say Lafarge was the one who did it.
Yes.
Where they just mixed a green and a blue and a yellow, and because prior to that,
to do ribbons of color.
You get all the. I'm kind of running the light behind it to pick up. You know, like look at the beautiful color in there.
Incredible colors right in here.
Yeah,
now, this is coming from what period?
This would be turn of the century. It could be 1890s up to like 1910. It's kind of hard to pin it down more than that.
Now, people are buying these, obviously, and they have been in the past as works of art. They're obviously hanging them, backlighting them, and so forth. But are they, in fact, buying them for installation in new projects?
When they put additions on the house, they tend to use it.
They'll buy the piece and say, right, we're going to design the wall around it. We'll build a house around it.
Yes, we can put it anywhere. We don't care what size it is. We could use it wherever.
Perfect. What kind of price tag are we looking at here?
This one's about $1,700, so it's one of my more expensive windows.
But it's absolutely beautiful. Is it unusual to have this much coloration in a piece like this? This was a fairly expensive piece when it was made.
In its day, I think this was a good, it had to come out of a pretty good home. When you run around and you'll look at from A to Z, you'll see what the row houses had, the average house had.
Yes, indeed.
And then, there's only very few people who had a Lafarge or a Tiffany window.
Yes.
They're all documented. But without using the word mansion, this had to come out of a house closer to a mansion than
I couldn't agree with you more. It's a beautiful piece, and I thank you very much for sharing it with us. Turn your flea market find into a gesture of goodwill. Let me tell you how to do it when we come back. We're back, and we're talking to this nice lady, and your name is?
Brian Wright.
Brian Wright. What you got here, Brian?
I have a toy that we have at a fabulous rummage sale, and this is a toy department, and we're having a wonderful day here today.
This is great. You know, there's probably a lot of people out there who have got all kinds of toys out there, and it's a good thing to donate these, number one, but it's also the best place to come to find stuffed toys and sweet dolls like this. Rummage sales, flea markets, you want to get out there and start perusing because they're all out there. They're all there. Now tell me, how many of you got here? Look at this collection.
Well, we had yesterday that went all the way to the end of the road, which is a large array of
Hundreds
toys.
of them.
This gal is getting them to put in sick baskets. She fixes baskets for the hospital,
That's
and so she's
great.
looking for little toys that she can clean and recycle. So this is a recycling venture that we really are proud of.
That's a great idea.
Yes.
Now, I never have thought of doing that.
Yes.
That's absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
So it's good to come to rummage sales, come to flea markets, and you can buy all these incredible things and donate them to another cause.
Yes.
That's a great idea. You're wonderful.
Oh,
And
nice to see you
Thanks so
again.
much for coming on the show. I'd like to welcome you to the show.
Thank you.
And your name is?
Kayla Van.
Kayla Van.
Yeah.
Tell me about your little collection here. And I'm holding on to this one. He's very nice.
Yes, he is. These two animals actually were in my husband's aunt's house. She had them packed in a drawer, and my husband's brother and sister threw them in a trash can, and I picked them out because I
I'm
thought
glad
they
you
were
did.
cute. I am too, because I think they're cute.
Absolutely.
And this guy, I just bought him at a flea market because I thought he was neat. I like cats. And
Well, let's sort of go round robin here with these guys, and then we'll come back to this little bear. This is a very sweet. You two chat. This one is a very nice piece. It's slightly generic, and I like that about it. We do not have a label on it. We don't have any attribution. He's taking a snooze now. We don't have any attribution as far as this particular piece is concerned. However, this was a mass-produced piece as opposed to a single item, meaning a home industry piece. And we know that by its construction for the most part. He would have started out life a little bit more velvety as he is now, but the scut of the tail is actually a little rabbit fur and so forth. This would have been very popular, and it's difficult for a number of reasons to put an exact time as far as this goes. We do have very nice little glass eyes on this, all right? That's putting it in one time. The construction on the bottom of it, how it's been actually put together, is another indication as well. The content of it as well is another. So we do have a sawdust composition inside. We do have glass beads, and I would put him in the first quarter of the 20th century, this guy. Because we have no label, we can attribute it to several toy manufacturers or children's toys manufacturers rather. And the New York company of McBee was very popular for the manufacturing of stuffed toys for children. And they were in their heyday from about 1900 to about 1940, and then unfortunately they went bust. Pieces from that period from McBee Company, and I believe this may have had a label on it at one time, but it doesn't anymore. Okay. In its present condition, I would say this value is about $25 for him. Okay? I'm glad you took him out. This guy is a sweetheart. His little head comes off. We pop his head off. He is actually ceramic, and we do have a mark on the bottom that he's from Austria. And so it's a ceramic piece, purely decorative, little candy jar. This probably would have been sold with a candy in it to begin with, and it is coming also from the same time that this one is.
Okay.
No older, no less, as far as that goes. And would have been sold as a single item, all wrapped up with the contents in it. Now, these, as far as collectors are concerned, they're going to look at this and they'll be charmed by it, and they're going to put it at about $25 for this one. Okay?
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
I'm saving the best for last. What you do have here is a standard size little stiff or stiff bear. He does have his little mark in his ear, which is a clear indication that we have a good one, number one. He is also of the mohair, and he has everything intact. He has a little bit of wear, the Kodiak bear, because he has a little lumpy bit on the back.
Yes.
He is not in pristine condition, and that's fine. We do have wear and tear as
He
far
loved
as
them.
that goes. He has been well loved.
Yes.
He is coming from the 20s, similarly from when these guys are coming from. Any idea what this little guy is worth?
No, not really. I just thought he was cute.
He does have the solid glass eyes as opposed to the brown-black glass eyes, which is putting him in that specific time frame. In mint condition, and rarely are you going to find them in mint condition, you're looking at about $850 for him.
Really?
In his present condition, I would say quite easily a collector would like to have him for about $450. So I'm glad you rescued him from the dustbin. He's an absolute sweetheart, and thank you very much for bringing it.
Thank you.
He's great.
I think so.
We're back, and I'm talking to
Kit Carter.
Kit Carter.
Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. I zeroed in on this wonderful collection, this really beautiful bathroom, doll's house bathroom. Now, tell us about this.
Well, the Germans, and along with all sorts of other technology that was produced in the 19th century, they took such painstaking care on producing things that they loved. And down to just the most finite details with the porcelain, all this bathroom works. You can actually pour water, and every appliance works. Beautifully detailed. This one would be late Victorian, early 20th century. And as I say, you have all this wonderful, even the beveled glass, all this attention to detail. This particular piece retails for $1,850, and it is truly magnificent.
It is magnificent. For people that are not familiar with this period, this would not have been in a doll's house. This would have been sold as a separate unit.
Correct.
And the Germans were very smart that way, because you could also buy other units as well. But the ones that they really excelled, where they excelled, was the manufacturing of the bathrooms themselves, because the shower stalls, the bathtub, everything about it is scale piece, designed specifically of the finest porcelain, just as it would have been manufactured in adult large size. Also, the construction itself it's a heavy gauge metal, chromolithographed, printed in some of the finest chromolithographed work in its period. And the lovely thing about these is, even if they took moderately good care of them, the condition maintains itself beautifully. They're wonderful, wonderful pieces. And at $1,800, it's a wonderful, wonderful deal. I want to thank you so much for sharing it with us.
It's a real pleasure.
It's a beauty, a find too.
Thank you very much.
Form follows function when we come back. We're back, and I'm speaking with
John Norton.
John Norton. Nice to meet you, sir.
Pleased to meet you.
Now, tell me about these guys.
I'd be happy to. These are called brick pots. They were made in Maine as plant pots up until about 1970, when the guy went out of business. His wood-fired kiln burned his barn down, so he really went out of business. They're interesting in that they're water-struck brick, which means you can leave them out all winter, and even though they've been outside all winter, they won't crack or they won't break. These are set in his field in Maine for 30 years, so they won't.
Aging beautifully.
Exactly.
Now, what I want to ask you is this something which is indigenous to Maine or indigenous to this individual?
Well, both, I guess. He's the guy that developed them. They're Damariscotta River clay, so they're indigenous to Maine.
Perfect.
You don't need a drainage hole in them because the brick is porous. It doesn't leak.
It'll leach out.
So no, it doesn't leak. It's always equilibrating with the atmosphere around. You don't. So that it's exactly what you want for succulent plants and herbs.
Perfect.
So I use them for hens and chicks and African violets and ivy and cactus. They just have a great look.
And over here, can we zero in? This is the mold that was used.
That's the mold for this size.
And functioning, obviously, this coming off, and you go from there.
So
Did he in fact designed and specifically designed this mold?
This was his idea, and he made them.
Beautiful. They're unique. They're wonderful.
Great look.
They're wonderful look. I want to thank you very much for sharing with us.
And my pleasure.
I'd like to welcome you to the show, sir. And your name is?
Roger Ulrich.
Roger. All right. What do you have here?
This is a jardiniere that I can't tell you a whole lot about.
All right.
It was my grandfather's.
Okay.
And when he died and they decided to sell off his pieces, my astute wife, who knows more about such things than I, decided to go running up to Bethlehem, where he lived, and buy this quick.
Good. And what did you pay for this?
Well, she bought several pieces,
Okay.
and I think she paid in the neighborhood of $350. We were relatives, remember?
Okay. Well, they didn't see you coming as far as that goes. You paid. You did well, actually. What you have here is a late 1930s, actually, Art Deco designed Fulper Jardiniere. And Fulper was coming out of the Midwest. It is very, very finely done. This, for people who don't know, and I hate doing this on television, but here we go. I'm going to pick it up here and put it on there. And then, of course, you'd put your fern in here, or your aspidistra, or whatever you are going to have, and put it in a place of prominence in the front parlor. This decoration that's on here is very, very stylized, which is very typical of the Art Deco period. The use of the stylized cherry blossom as well was one which is very popular with a lot of art glass, art pottery of the period. And Fulper was coming out of the Midwest, was probably one of the leaders as far as Art Deco designed pottery, porcelains, art glass sort of styled pieces. The quality of this is really quite fine. The markings on it, as far as manufacturer, are right on the bottom. So we've got all that information right there. We do have a little bit of a problem here. So a lot of serious dealers are going to look at that and say, However, as far as the piece is concerned, it is intact and therefore does have value. Now, if this was included in the price of the $300 you paid collectively, that was good. That was good, because then you did very well. In mint condition, this jardiniere, coming from the 1930s, manufactured by Fulper, is worth about $2,500. Now, because we have a little bit of a glitch here, we unfortunately have got to do a little discount on that. So in mint condition, $2,500. In its present condition, it's really going to take a major slash as far as that goes. And you're looking at about $950 as a result of that little glitch. So somebody dropped something in there and then the water increased the crack. But it's a beautiful, fine example of Art Deco jardiniere. And I would thank you very much for bringing it.
Thank you very much.
It's a great piece. Thank you.